Hey guys, and welcome to the Chirurgeon's table update. Today we're going to be talking about all things Chirurgeon. So, to start things off, let's talk about how to find this guy. The easiest way is by having the Chirurgeon's directory, which is a stagecoach item giving you 100% Chirurgeon's table and hospital scouting, as well as doubling the item selection at the hospital as a bonus. Otherwise, you can head to a watchtower and scout one from there. So, once you get to the Chirurgeon's table, you will have to fight a wave of gauntlets before you can then fight the Chirurgeon himself. The first round will act just like a creature den, in which after defeating the last enemy you will then be fighting the Chirurgeon instantly, so be sure to properly buff and prepare before that last enemy dies. Speaking of enemies though, all the basic gaunts will now be covered in leeches, which will actually be called patients. They have the same skills as regular Lost Souls, but they have just as much health as a ghoul. In both fights you will be fighting gaunts, so make sure you don't have any trinkets that are negatively affected by the presence of gaunts. After defeating this wave, you'll be fighting the Chirurgeon and more gaunts. The Chirurgeon then has 75 health, low dot resistance, high stun resist at 75, 40 move resist, and 50 debuff resist. Though the Chirurgeon has low dot resist, he will gain 2 health every time you apply a dot on the start of his turn, and then cure it at the end of his turn. So using dots to kill the Chirurgeon is highly discouraged. His other passive effect is that damaging him will cause the attacker to bleed. Now we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the Chirurgeon's skills, of which he has 5. His first one is Bone Saw, which you can only use on your front 2 party members. It does 6 to 12 damage with 10% crit and does 5 bleed. His second skill, Bloodletting, requires the target to have a disease. Can hit all ranks. It deals 3 bleed, 2 stress, and a debuff that reduces the damage by 12%, but removes the disease. This is the main reason why you may be interested in visiting the Chirurgeon, because you don't have to pay to remove the disease like you would at a hospital. And you also can gain some other rewards that we'll talk about later in this video. So his third skill then is Trephination. Targets any ally. Target must have negative tokens. It ignores shields, dodge, and stealth, as well as removing any of those tokens. The attack itself deals 2 damage, plus 200% more for every negative token the target had. This means that applying negative effects to his allies is going to be of little use, as the Chirurgeon can cure it from minimal damage to his allies, but it will remove things that make it harder for them to die, so it could be worth applying a negative token to one that has a shield just to have the Chirurgeon remove it for you. His fourth skill then is Trephination. It can be cast on any of your party members that has a negative token. It will remove all the negative tokens that hero has, as well as doing 4 damage, plus 100% more for every negative token the hero has. It doesn't say this on the wiki, but it absolutely does ignore shields. He used it on my man-at-arms who had shields, and the damage was not reduced. I assume it also removes dodge and stealth, just like Trephination does. His final skill then is Leucotomy, which is the only skill with a cooldown of 1. After using it, the Chirurgeon will have another turn later in the round. This skill is cast on allies of the Chirurgeon, healing them 33%, and has a different effect depending on who the Chirurgeon used it on. Using it on a patient will give them a crit token. Woodsmen will have 50% shields turned to 75% shields at the end of their turn. Urchins will gain 50% damage while in stealth. Widows will gain 33% debuff and stun resist. And ghouls at the end of their turn will convert shields into crit tokens. now we've talked about all his abilities, let's go over what the general strategy for defeating the Chirurgeon is. So the best thing to do is deal with all his gaunt allies that he constantly buffs, as 2 of them will be gaining crits over time from his Lukutomi skill, which will do a lot of damage to your party. Avoid using dots on the Chirurgeon himself, as they will do very little damage to him, as he will keep curing it for free and also healing. Be careful about acquiring too much bleed in this fight, as there are a lot of ways to accumulate bleed, and make sure you have skills to cure it, like battlefield medicine, ministrations, cauterize. This can be a long fight, so making sure you use them appropriately is important to surviving the Chirurgeon. The best way of dealing damage to him is just standard physical damage. Be aware though that any hero hitting the Chirurgeon can have bleed applied to them. Finally then, we come to the rewards. The first one you get is during the fight itself, because he cures your party's diseases for free, which is really good. As for the items you can pick up, there are 2 trinkets, which are the Appalling Apron and the Spiked Skullcap, both of which you can actually see the Chirurgeon wearing, which is pretty cool, and there's a nice attention to detail. The apron is pretty good. It counts as armor and will convert dots into healing. If you have a restorative item equipped, then your healing given is buffed by 25%. However, all healing received is reduced by 50%. This is really good on man-at-arms, as it basically means you never have to worry about dots, and if you have a Plague Doctor, then indiscriminate science counteracts the negative. Of course, you can put this trinket on any of your healers and massively up their healing, but do be mindful of the negative. The Spiked Skullcap is less good, but not awful by any means. It counts as armor and a serrated item. Every time the wearer is hit, they can apply 1 bleed, and every time they attack someone with bleed, they have a plus 50% chance to crit. If the Bone Saw is also equipped, then crits apply 2 bleed as well. All your crits, however, have a 5% chance of giving you a disease. It can be okay, but I've not really found a good use for this trinket yet. You can also gain the Physician's Guild Seal, which is something you deliver to the inn for 1 mastery point, 20% healing, and at the start of every round you have a 5% chance of gaining 2 healing for that region, which is honestly pretty nice. More healing is never really a bad thing. You can also acquire Trephine Birds that come in stacks of 2. These are combat items which convert negative tokens into positive tokens, specifically vulnerable into shields, blindness into dodge, weakened to strong, and dazed to speed, at the cost of 10% damage to the user. This item could honestly be super good against the final boss, as tokens get flipped around all the time, but I'd have to test it first. The final thing you can get from the Chirurgeon is a random medical gear stagecoach item. For example, I found mortar and pestle as well as medical equipment after defeating him twice. And that's just about everything on the Chirurgeon. So, if you did find this video helpful, do me a solid and hit me with a like. If you think I missed something or maybe didn't explain something too well, you can ask me in the comments below. I'll try to have a similar video on the Collector soon. This video was originally supposed to be on him, but I ended up getting footage of the Chirurgeon himself. But anyway, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.